Fortnite is officially gearing up for the final event and the attack of the last reality. Get ready for a secret plot twist that will absolutely shock you, the Season 2 teasers, and the official date and time for the live event. Let's start on the lore front, because the last update was absolutely fire. It's basically the prelude to the Seven making their big comeback. The update finally explains what Order was doing on the island. Turns out, she was trying to send a distress signal to the remaining team members. But at the last minute, the Dark Voyager caught her, and now the Order is locked away somewhere deep in his lethal lab. Karina hinted at this, digging up info about a cage and a mysterious room right under the Voyager's lab. But wait, there's more. Data miners say we'll be able to get inside his ship soon, pointing to game file strings that say the ship will be open at some point. The Voyager himself has already started executing his plan and rift away. Honestly, this whole thing feels eerily like what the Cube Queen was up to back in Chapter 2, Season 8, and we all know how that ended. The Voyager is probably planning to drag his homies from the last reality over to the island, and then we're in for a real showdown. Or maybe he has totally different plans that we can't even imagine yet, and Dago is somehow connected to them. Yeah, it looks like Maskmaker is returning to the Chapter 7 storyline, but with a new look, now he's Elite Dago. Truth be told, I can't quite figure out which side he's playing for. The design of his suit gives off major vibes from both factions, and the color palette of his armor is a dead ringer for the Voyager's cradle. Long story short, this topic is too juicy to cover quickly. If you guys smash the like button on this video, I'll cook up a whole video breaking down the Voyager's mysterious Red Room, Dago's sudden return, and that ominous rift, because it definitely looks like something big is brewing. But we'll dive into the juicy lore in just a bit. Following tradition, we'll continue with map changes. The Winterfest is officially over, and with it, all the holiday magic is gone. The snow has melted, the decorations vanished, and the Nutcracker's house, which by the way magically reverted to its old default version, is closed until next winter. It's a bummer maybe, but don't fret, because a new spot has popped up where the festive spirit is alive and well. Or more accurately, its own special holiday has arrived. It looks like Eric cashed in on enough lunch money, and let's be real, a couple of shady side hustles to buy the whole amusement park. Now it's his turf. The spot's core concept is the same, but visually, it's a total glow-up. Epic's absolutely stuffed every corner with South Park references. The cardboard castle from the Stick of Truth, Princess Kenny's castle, a massive Ferris wheel with Cartman's face, and even a whole hockey park run by Philip and Terrence. Honestly, I already know where all the South Park stands are going to be dropping for the next couple of weeks. If you're not a fan, well, you might be converted after a visit to Cartman Land. That seems to be it for the island changes in this new update. On the one hand, we practically got a whole new location. On the other, the content feels a little thin, which is a bit of a letdown for the first update of the new year. Maybe I'm just spoiled? Hit me up in the comments and let me know. The gameplay side of the update also revolves around the South Park collab. True to Epic's tradition, one they've been committed to for what feels like a year, we only got one truly new item. The other two are just recycled old mechanics in a fresh wrapper. Case in point, the cheesy poofs are literally just last year's Scooby snacks from the Halloween event, only with a different icon. And the Kenny medallion is a near identical clone of the Revive device from the start of Chapter 7, though this one actually resurrects you instead of just getting you out of a knockdown state. They vaulted the Revive device, by the way, so Kenny's medallion is your only shot at a revive now. If I'm being honest, replacing an item with a simple recolor and calling it new is pretty lame. I'll give it a pass though, because those tentacle animations are kinda sick. That's why the most interesting new gameplay feature is undoubtedly the Stick of Truth. Seriously, this is one of the most fun items we've gotten in a few seasons. You can literally control the storm with it. Once activated, a storm appears around the players and shrinks down to the final circle. It's awesome, and better yet, it completely breaks the rules of the game. So if you've been dreaming of dominating the storm, now's your chance to find the Stick of Truth. It won't be a walk in the park to find though, since there's only one available per match, and it's tough to get your hands on. The item is a one and done consumable, so use your brain before you use it. For the less exciting stuff, a new SMG that was teased back in Chapter 7 was added to the loot pool. Ultimately, the gameplay portion of the update is weak. The Stick of Truth is carrying the whole patch like a superstar carrying a failing team. Without it, the update would be a total filler patch, since 2 out of 3 items are just old stuff. On the flip side, maybe the devs intentionally dropped a light patch so we could all ease out of our holiday hibernation mode and avoid content overload. Even if that's the case, they better crank it up to 11 for the next update. On a brighter note, we also got the mini passes back. Just for reference, the last one was the Pirates of the Caribbean collab way back in July 2024. To score all the freebies from the devs, you gotta complete special challenges and collect tokens. There's no paid track this time, which means it's totally free for everyone, a nice change of pace. Personally, I think they should have kept a V-Bucks track, and maybe thrown a Butters skin in there, for example. That way, you can have your cake and eat it too. The players get a skin, and Epic gets their money. Instead, 99% of all the cosmetics were shoved into the item shop. You'll have to pony up a whopping 4,000 V-Bucks for the full set. The kid skins are actually pretty cool, despite the exoskeleton designs, which are getting kind of old already in my opinion. What's your take? And since I'm not just here to talk, check out the new skins for yourselves. Overall, the first update of the year left me with mixed feelings. The gameplay is kinda weak. Epic basically took the path of least resistance again, just reskinning old mechanics instead of dropping fresh content. But the South Park collab was seriously on point. You can tell someone at Epic is a huge fan of the show. Plus, getting the storyline back on track after a month of downtime is definitely a win. So let's dive deeper into the dark side of the story. After the 0 Hour event, the Chapter 7 teaser dropped, showing a bunch of flashbacks from old Fortnite. But at some point, someone seemed to hack the recording, and we got a message in the form of cubic runes. So, the last reality is back. Wait up though, they never actually left. The message translation says they first showed up not in Chapter 2, and not even in Chapter 1 when the purple cube appeared on the island. Turns out, the last reality has been watching us since the start of the Battle Royale. 8 years, 9 weeks, 3 days. They call this whole time the training period, if you can believe it. In that time, they've analyzed 928,560,000,000,000 hours of matches. That's all the Fortnite game time over 8 years. Bottom line, they know us better than we know ourselves, and can predict our moves not just one step ahead, but for decades. Luckily, using my creator code is a whole lot faster. But the last reality made one huge miscalculation. The Dark Presence was just another test for us, a kind of protocol to see how we'd handle that situation. But then, an anomaly happened that shouldn't have. The red cube, which Jonesy straight up pulled from a OG like it was nothing. It feels like even the last reality didn't know about it, which means a new, uncontrolled variable just entered the equation. Maybe there's a force out there we don't know about yet. And this force is so legit, it can mess with space and time. And if anyone has dealt with the last reality in person, it's the Seven. Right at the end of the 0 Hour event, we got a 1-minute cinematic that covered almost the entire story of 6 chapters. But the main focus was on the 7 heroes who defended the 0 point. And, by the way, the voiceover isn't some random dude, it's Troy Baker himself, the actor who voices Jonesy. That just makes the whole story more epic. Like we're all chilling around a campfire, and Jonesy is spilling the tea about his past. So, during the event, the captain of the Mika team leader showed up on the island. And Hope didn't just notice by accident that someone was controlling it. Suspicion immediately fell on the Paradigm, since she was always the one who piloted the mech. But we remember she sacrificed herself after the rift to jumpstart the island's restoration. But after a tease like that, you definitely can't put the Paradigm in the confirmed dead column. The Order is the only one we know for sure is alive. Her meteor landed on the island, and now she's trying to figure out what's going on. She's keeping journals that give us clues about the fate of the others in the Seven. The Order herself seems to have vanished after her last note, because her final entry cuts off suddenly. We also got confirmation that her sister, the Imagined, is dead. Her death happened back in the Zero War comics, when she jumped into the epicenter after Gino. Now, besides the Order's own words, the list of vengeance in the Chapter 7 teaser confirmed it. where the name The Imagined is crossed out. The order also mentions the scientist, but she abruptly cut off her phrase about his condition. So I'm putting my money on the scientist being corrupted by the Chrome, and the game files mention that the NPC Foundation and Visitor will pop up this season. What's interesting is that the Visitor won't be in his original Chapter 1 skin, but in the Chapter 6 OG version, and he's not showing up just to say hi. Turns out, the Visitor is hiding from the last reality, who found his location in the OG reality and sent their hounds after him. As for the origin, we have zero intel. Seriously, we can't tell where he is, what he's up to, or anything right now. Long story short, the Seven used to be a legendary crew, but now they're basically a missing persons list. And right on cue, a new figure enters the scene, who is directly connected to the last reality and the hunt for the Seven. The chapter trailer already showed us a massive cosmic ship looming over the island. Now it's clear this isn't the Cube Cradle from the Chapter 2, Season 8 event, but a scout ship piloted by the Dark Voyager. But who is he? And where did he come from? Jonesy says he smells like the void of lost realities. Not fear, not evil, just the void. Get it? It's a huge hint toward the nothing. And he reminds Jonesy of an enemy he ran into a long time ago, on the previous island. Obviously he's talking about the last reality, who are probably booking it to the island right now. Hope also sees Voyager as a huge threat, but there's a catch. She doesn't get why, after destroying the battle bus, the Dark Voyager didn't attack anyone and isn't even paying much attention to the island. However, when trying to scan the near future, Hope realized she lost her fortune-telling skill, and her graffiti can no longer spoil upcoming events. The Dark Voyager ship and the power of nothing are blocking Hope's abilities, so we're running out of aces up our sleeve. Hope says they aren't the only ones collecting the 0-point fragment. Someone else is doing it, and it looks like it's the Dark Voyager. The latest update confirmed it. His ship is just chilling right over the 0-point shard. And if you check out the loading screen, you can see Neon Lynx and the Voyager scanning the island, looking for something. And if you look closely at Lynx, it's clear they've already found at least one shard. Remember how I said the Visitor escaped from OG? It looks like Lynx was one of the hunters, since she's in the OG Battle Pass. The last reality seems to have put out a multiverse-wide APB to take out the Seven and collect all the shards. Right now, the Voyager is interested in the Inner Loop lab, which he's already taken over and turned into the Lethal Lab. He even replaced the logo. Seriously. Look at how extra he is, man. Inner Loop, by the way, is one of the shadiest spots on the whole island. We still don't know who's actually running it, or who founded it. At first, I thought Jonesy and Hope were in charge, but then I figured out they're more like partners than founders. You can learn a lot about Inner Loop from Karina. This girl, Karina, she's a total conspiracy theorist, and she's totally dug up the dirt on the lab. First, Inner Loop has been operating on the island for ages and has a questionable reputation. Second, Karina got access to a huge number of classified files, most of which have deleted info. But even the surviving data mentions the Seven's countless realities and the past of the epicenter. Plus, a lot of the documents have the digital signatures of Jonesy and Hope, so those two are definitely closely tied to the place. But those aren't all the lab's mysteries. Why does it have a giant particle accelerator powered by the shard's energy? Or how do they have so much info about Fortnite's past? But we can't worry about that now, because the Dark Voyager is in charge, and he's trying to do something with the 0-point fragment. If the game files are accurate, the entire epicenter will be fully reassembled by the end of the season, which means the Voyager's goal is to restore the epicenter. But why? I have a hunch he's hiding way more than it seems, and maybe he's playing his own game, chasing goals that are different from the last reality's plan. So, why does Inner Loop have a collider that powers the epicenter? Where did they get the Seven's data? And who even created the place? And what's waiting for us in Phase 2? That's a ton of questions we'll get answers to as the season plays out. Drop your theories in the comments, because the most interesting ones could make it into a new video. Make sure you turn on notifications, because for the first time in a long time, I'm genuinely interested in following what's happening. Finally, the storyline doesn't feel like some snooze-fest nursery rhyme where you know the ending from the jump. And this is all happening even with map changes in the very first update. If this keeps up, we can officially declare that the OG Fortnite is back. But this is far from all the secrets the island is hiding, and we're going to dive deeper into the lab's origin. So let's take it from the top, because for the first time in a long time, Epic's writers actually managed to surprise me. Instead of a clean slate, Epic has brought back one of the most powerful threats in the game, the Last Reality. They've just arrived on Golden Coast Island in a massive ship commanded by the Dark Voyager. A face, or more precisely a skull, OG loopers will remember from way back in Chapter 1, Season 3. Later, after the Season X reset, he showed up again as Eternal Voyager, and that's when we finally learned that under that helmet, there was nothing but a glowing skull. That pretty much confirmed he wasn't exactly human, though nobody expected him to come back 6 years later, now wielding the power to control the golden cubes. To understand why that power is such a big deal, we gotta talk about the Last Reality again, because this squad uses their cubes as foot soldiers with the plan of invading different realities, probably intending to hoard the entire universe for themselves. Back in Chapter 2, Season 8, we found out the Cube Queen was the leader of all of them, basically because she controlled the golden cube. In fact, during her mission to invade our island, she summoned her army, which is where we first saw this specific type of ship that is now hovering right above the Golden Coast Island. And actually, the one sitting inside it is the Voyager. With the arrival of this ship on the island, we also get the TV interference shown in the cinematic trailer, where we can read a message that the Last Reality probably meant to send to their own forces. In it, they say that their training and learning phase is complete, and that they've spent 8 years and 9 weeks in base reality, which is basically Battle Royale mode, since that's how long it has existed. According to them, this adds up to 106 billion years, because they're counting the fact that every 20-minute Battle Royale loop can have up to 1 million active matches at once. That's why the total amount of time is literally around 7 times longer than the age of the universe itself. However, during this process, we spotted 2 errors that came up for them. The first was the appearance of the Dark Presence, a villain that emerged from the spirit realm, something that, for now, exists only in the reality of 783. And by the way, he was already defeated in the final event, with Jones bringing in the entire army of collabs. With that victory, they also recovered the fragment of the 0 point, and this sent Hope, Jones, and us to the new island, I assume to recover another part of the 0 point fragment. If you don't know what this 0 point is, let's just say it's like the heart of all the Fortnite islands. And at the end of Chapter 4, well, it exploded, and its fragments were scattered across different realities. This was the same event where Fortnite stopped being just a game and officially became a metaverse.